Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to the Brain Dump. We got Anthony in the house. How you doing, my buddy?
I am in the house, which is better than being outside the house when it comes to recording podcasts. So I am doing pretty good.
And in relationships. You don't want to be outside the house in relationships either. So that's very positive.
Or in the doghouse.
I spend a lot of time.
Or the big house.
I spend a lot of time there. You know what? You know what my buddy said? We're interviewing him in a minute. You know what he said to me? He's like, man, you're getting a ton of momentum. Like, he's like, dude, it's going to be a great life. He's like, there's only one thing you have to combat against. And I was like expecting this really profound answer. And he said, just don't wind up in handcuffs. I was like, if that's the only thing that could stop me, then we're good. So
good to go. No, it's absolutely true. This is from Nassim Taleb, Naval Ravikant, these guys who are like these big traders and whatnot. They talk about the fact that you can do pretty much everything wrong in life as long as you avoid absolute ruin. Like, and absolute ruin is ending up in jail or dead. Like, just don't do those two things, and you're probably going to be doing okay.
And you're good. Just don't give up. So what we're going to talk about today is life by design. For lack of a better word, lifestyle, creating a lifestyle detached from your goals, but over, in my opinion, an overall lifestyle, which in my terms means, I'm not counting my reps. I'm not worried about how much I'm benching. As I tell everybody, this isn't PE class anymore, but I have adopted a mindset of I'm available for opportunities. I'm seeking opportunities. I'm seeking impact, and then I'm seeking a healthy life. And so that healthy life to me looks like I'm a guy that moves my body at least 15 minutes a day. I'm a guy that listens to a book every day. I'm a dude that has intentional conversations. Like, those are the goals for me. And yeah, there might be granular 90-day, 60-day goals, but I've never been really, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I've never been, I don't really prescribe to like, this is the dollar amount I have to hit. Like, I just go out and seek, and I hope that my actions and my habits daily my results will be the byproduct of those things.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I think this was a great episode. I'll see you guys. No, I'm just kidding. A while ago, I wrote a thing about goals are for losers. And I am a very goal-oriented person. So don't get me wrong when I say that goals are for losers, because I think they serve a role. But the problem is that many of us, and I am super guilty of this, have misappropriated the importance of goals and put them in the wrong place. And so the structure I want to present to you, Austin, and we can maybe unpack it a little bit, because I think it's valuable for understanding how we go about creating a life by design. So if you were to imagine a bullseye with 3 circles, and in the middle there's a bullseye. The outer circle we can think of as our goals. The circle in from that are our processes, and the circle on the inside, our bullseye, that's our identity. And so these are the 3 types of change that we can make in our existence. We have goal change, process change, and identity change. The goals, these are what we do. These are the targets that we're aiming for. They're the road signs on the road to nirvana. The process change is how we do that. This is maybe the car that we're driving down the road towards nirvana. And then identity change, this is why we're even in the car in the first place. Who are we? Does it even matter if we had a car, or would we be walking towards that? So this is who we are at the core. And the problem is that we start on the outside of this circle and we fixate on the goals and what we're going to do. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to buy this thing. I'm going to have that thing. And we don't change our identity. And if the identity doesn't change, then the goals are irrelevant, because you will hit the goal and then you will revert back to your previous identity. So if you are an alcoholic, your goal is to stop drinking. But if your identity is I'm an alcoholic, then it doesn't matter if you go 30 days without a drink, because at some point you're going to fall back, because in your mind, you're an alcoholic. And so the goal isn't to stop drinking. It's to identify as a person who doesn't drink. And so if we can make those identity changes, then we can start designing our life with intentionality.
Yeah, that was so good. That was so good. Well, and I always relate everything to me. So when I lost 65,
we're a universe of one, bro.
Well, when I lost 65 pounds, I didn't look at the scale, and, I lost the weight. I focused on the process every day, day in and day out. And what's interesting to me, what is everybody's favorite thing in the world? Before and after photos. Man, our America loves a good before and after photo, dude. I can show you my post on social media, and it gets 10 times the look. They're suckers for before and after.
Man, I'm just going to turn my Instagram into before and afters. That's all I'm doing.
Dude, if you want to be famous, that's all you have to do. And what's interesting is my friends that I consider super enlightened, or like coaches or whatever you want to get, you know what they would always say to me that always set with me and it made me feel good? They said, don't get me wrong, you look really healthy, but what I notice is that you're really happy. Like, we see it on your face.
The smile.
And so what I realized is what I did, and maybe not knowing it, is through that process of losing the weight, the weight loss was a byproduct. But what I did is I changed my identity and who I was as a person inside. And so in my opinion, I changed myself from the inside outside, not the other way around.
I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts on something that I came across on the social medias this morning. And it's this idea of using rewards or punishments to help you in the attainment of a goal. So let's talk about rewarding specifically. Like, do you buy into the idea of rewarding yourself if you hit certain goals or like benchmarks? Or does that fly? Or for you, is it the reward is the person I've become?
The person I've become.
Yeah.
100%.
But until you get to that place where the identity changes, do you use rewards as a short-term stopgap to help get you there?
Maybe. It's a tricky dance, because I think the most important question that you have to ask yourself is what works for you. And what I mean by that is I have certain coaching clients who want me to be David Goggins. And I have certain coaching clients who want me to have kitten gloves, because that works for their personality. And that's why I make my coaching clients take personality tests so I know how to talk to them. I have a coaching client, Anthony, you of all people will love this shit. I told him yesterday, if we're having the same conversation a month from now, I'm firing him as a coaching client. I said, we've been talking about you leaving your job for 3 months. Either grow a fucking pair of balls or fucking move on. I'm not talking about it May 1st. And he goes, well, you'll see. And I was like, well, we'll see, won't we?
Oh yeah, we will see.
And I was like, and he's like, you'll just walk away from the money like that? And I'm like, yep, I would. Well, I would. Because I'm not going to waste my energy having the same conversation for 4 months.
Exactly.
Either do it or don't.
Yep. And that's the problem. I think that's the trap of so many of us fall into, is we spend so much time thinking about the thing and like preparing to do the thing, weighing the pros and the cons of the thing. And at the end of the day, all that mental energy that you've spent pontificating on that decision could have been used elsewhere, right? Either you're not going to leave, in which case stop dwelling on it and focus on what's inside your control, or you are going to leave and you're executing a plan that's going to get you to the place where you're ready to leave, in which case you're not talking about it either way, because now you're focusing on the process. And that's the part of this, this triumvirate of change that I find really interesting, is when you focus on the identity change and the processes. Yeah. Those are the really interesting bits. Change what you like how you see yourself, and then change what you do every day. And the goals, they're irrelevant. You're going to achieve pretty much anything that you put your mind to if you implement the right systems and you have the right self-belief and like right vision of who you are.
So true story, another coaching client, it's just fresh on my mind. He moved his jobs. He broke up with his girlfriend. There's a lot of things happen when you coach with me. he went on a month trip. He moved out of his apartment. We changed a lot of stuff, and he was dreading for 5 months all these conversations with these individuals. And you know what's crazy is every one of these people, when he had these conversations that he'd been dreading for 4 months, putting off, supported him in his decisions. And none of those conversations went the way that he thought they were going to go for 4 months. And he put his life on hold because of the stories that he created of how they were going to react, because he didn't want to let them down, when in turn they actually are supporting everything that he's doing. And he's like, oh my God, I have to rethink my whole life now.
Here's something that's really interesting about anxiety, specifically when it occurs in relation to like future events, which anxiety always is. It's always about like the future is murky. I don't know what's going to happen. I have to have this conversation with so-and-so and I don't know how they're going to react, or I need to leave this job, but I don't know what I'm going to do after that. Like in all those situations, what makes humans such a unique species is our ability to future cast. We can see into the future and we can predict what's going to happen, sometimes with reasonable degrees of certainty, and other times we're completely wrong. But we're pretty good at it net because we're still alive. That's one of the things that allows us to build a civilization and to have a retirement plan that can account for our living in 50 years from now. But the problem is we're also very imaginative creatures. So when we think about that conversation or the consequence of leaving the job, we think about worst case scenario, and that's what we fixate on. And usually worst case scenario doesn't play out because it's a low probability event. Usually things are a little bit less than you think they're going to be. So what ends up happening is in that 5-month period before you finally pull the trigger and make the decision to have the conversation, you are living with worst case scenario, which is a low probability event. So you're better off long-term just having the conversation, because it could only go better than what you are currently experiencing inside your head. Maybe it goes exactly as poorly as you think it is. That's okay, because you are going to be living with that reality for the next 5 months anyhow. And so anxiety is just a really interesting thing where if you can just realize that you're probably making it way worse in your minds than reality will actually be, then you might as well just rip the Band-Aid off and get after it.
Well, in that scenario, what you don't understand is the act of doing it is very simple and very quick. The energy that you're expanding and the bandwidth taking up thoughts in your mind are controlling everything that you do for 4 months in a situation that's probably going to last 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you know why they're worried about how they're going to react? It's because they're not 100% sold on who they are as a person. And they don't 100% love themselves enough to know that they're saying what they need for themselves. And I run into a lot of people pleasers out there in the world.
You really nailed it on the head there when you're talking about like the intensity of discomfort and what it becomes necessary to actually get us to take action. Is that we have to, our discomfort level has to trip above a certain level, like a circuit breaker. And once it does, then we're moved to action. We're like, I won't tolerate that level of discomfort anymore. But the problem with anxiety and like thinking about what could happen is that it's a low grade thing. And it doesn't trip your breaker until things get so bad. And that's why people talk about rock bottom, is that your circuit breaker getting tripped. Now you have to change things because the alternative is untenable. But you can go a really long time living in that low grade discomfort, right below the threshold, And you just write it off and saying, it's not bad enough yet. It's not bad enough yet. But if you were to sit back and look at it really objectively, you're like, I'm losing like 30% of my mental focus to this thing. Mm-hmm. I think you used the example of the ice cube melting, right? Mm-hmm. At 31 degrees, the ice cube doesn't melt. At 32 degrees, all of a sudden it's a puddle.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
That wasn't me, but it was one of our guests, I remember. But it might've been Matty. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, my question to you is, why does it take a car wreck? Why does it take a cancer scare? Why does it take a divorce for you to shift who you are as a person? Because we become so accustomed to the comfort. We become so accustomed, just like you're saying, to the thing saying, oh, it's not that bad. But if you had an outside third-party source look at your life, say, oh, no, kind of sucks, bro. Like, and then that's when like a close, you know, what's interesting? When I decided to get sober, I had a couple guys come to me and they were like, yeah, it's been awkward for a little while. and you know, I was really taken aback because when you're living in it, you think, oh, it's not that bad. But when you have people that you respect that come up to you and go, it's pretty fucking bad. Like, I'm like, ugh, you know, that makes you rethink like a lot of things. Like, how long have I been operating from this survival alcoholic, you know, Tasmanian devil kind of just like, ugh, you know, that's very awkward to be around. Like, what a prick. Like, you know, but like in your mind, you think like everything's cool. Like
this, I posted this on Instagram just the other day. So I want to share it because it's relevant. This guy, I don't know who he was. He was sharing the fact that we have a nose that lives about 2 inches above our mouth.
Yeah.
And if you go 3 or 4 days without brushing your teeth, you have no clue, but everybody else around you does. And so it's this idea that like we're living in it. We don't see how bad it is. And if it takes that much like self-reflection and like looking internally to notice these things, then it just shows you what type of path you have in front of you to make meaningful change. And I'll leave you guys with this before I stop talking for the rest of the day, is that change is hard, but so is not changing. So you get to choose your hard. So which one's it going to be?
Okay, perfect. I just did an interview with a guy from Spain and he lives in wine country. And we were talking about, I don't know if you're a drinker, but do you know how great wine is made? Lack of water. They don't want the water. They need the grape to struggle. The more the grape struggles through volcano and granite and lack of water, the better the wine is.
Get those good tannins. That's a thing.
So,
right?
So my question to you is, do you want like Anthony said, do you want the easy road or do you welcome the obstacles? Because with the right mindset, they just become opportunities and not obstacles.
The obstacle is the way.
Amen. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it to your friends. We really appreciate y'all listening and drop us a review. Let us know how you feel. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.